We are here interviewing Eleanor Carlson, whose birthday is November 29th, 1916, and we're also speaking to her brother, Chuck Svensson.
April 26, 25.
Okay, thank you very much. Today is November 20th, 2012. We are conducting the interview at Heartland Healthcare Facility in Whitehall, Michigan. My name is Debbie Hayes, and my relationship with both Eleanor and Chuck are neighbors and friends. And filming the interview today is Oscar Osbo. The interview is being conducted for the White Lake Environmental History Project. It's a project of the White Lake Community Library, and it's about collecting first-person accounts of the impact of pollution and environmental cleanup on the White Lake area community, 1940s and 50s through the present, from local residents, visitors, businesses, and workers. The project will help residents and visitors of the area to learn about and understand the impact of White Lake's environmental history, including its historical industrial era and restoration efforts. We'll begin asking questions right now. Eleanor, do you have a family history in the White Lake area?
A famous history.
Your family history, was your family born here as well?
Yes, it's my children, and then my mother, our mother, born there.
Right.
And
her father before her.
Her. What did you say, father?
Her father was too.
Grandpa Svensson?
No. That'd be Johnson. Mother's.
Oh, Johnson. Okay.
Mother's father.
Yeah. Oh, yes. He was born at White Lake. That's Charles Johnson.
Right.
That's my mother's father.
And suppose the story went that he was the first white boy born in Whitehall because actually the others were all Indians.
Indians.
And so he was born during that time.
Yes. And I do have the original headlines of the paper, White Laker, which is now, that says he was born here.
Yeah.
I mean, to have the headlines of the original paper.
Eleanor, can you give me your earliest memory of White Lake?
Oh, dear. Well, I suppose it would always be swimming, although we were busy at the villa, but it was also ice skating.
Right.
You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I think between your brother and my husband, they had cleared a big piece of snow off from White Lake in front of what was White Lake Villa. So, you know, the people talk about that. Yeah, somebody lives here. Lil Cook.
The cook.
People come up and tell me about the fun they had, ice skating, and Mother bringing a chocolate cookies out to them, and drinks. So they had fun.
And in those days, was the lake very clean?
You know, at one time it must have been, because I was thinking that they used that ice.
Yeah.
We had ice, whatever it was. A big truck came, and they cut ice way up in a thing. And people used this.
Yeah.
I mean, drink it. Drink this
I don't know if they drank, but it was for people had more ice boxes in those days than they did refrigerator. And so the Hunts from Montague, they were the one that cut the ice into big squares. And
I remember that. They took the ice out of the right out of the big truck, and they cut the ice in big squares like that.
Right.
And brought it into the ice box.
They had ice houses, which they stacked it up, and they covered it a lot with sawdust and to preserve it. Excuse me. So it lasts a little bit longer.
What about your first memories about White Lake?
Well, let's see. I fell in the lake, and I think Eleanor pulled me off of the pulled me up off the pier. But we had a big slide there, and she took me down the slide. I remember that. And other than that, just wading and swimming in the lake, except when the wind was in the north and the water was red from the tannery, that nobody told us we couldn't swim, but I think even as a kid we had enough sense not to go in until it would clear up. But it'd get very red from the tannery.
So you were aware that it was pollution. Maybe you didn't know that's what it was called.
We didn't know what it was, or we knew what it was, but nobody even said anything about don't go in it or anything else. We just, as a kid, even then.
What was it, Jeff? What was the red? Was
the dye from the tannery.
Oh, the dye.
That they discharged into the lake. If the wind was just right from the north and the currents, it would. So then we had to play with something else. But
how red was it? Was it just a little tinge of pink, or was it a definite red?
Well, that's hard to remember now, but I know it was enough to keep you from swimming. So.
Oh my gosh.
And you talked about what is the sludge or the
I was talking about the color of the water at times when we got the north wind and the current was just right.
Describe any memories, controversy surrounding the pollution of White Lake.
Actually, when it came to the pollution of White Lake, at first it was basically, it seemed like it was just between us, or my family, my folks, and the tannery. It would just, nobody else seemed to be concerned to the fact, well, people were working at the tannery. I mean, that was livelihood for a lot of people. And so they really didn't appreciate that we were making them clean it up. But the thing was, eventually, I don't know if you want to talk about that now or not, but eventually we did sue the tannery. And they said, yes, they could clean it up. And the courts said, yes, you must clean it up. But it never happened. I mean, you just didn't get any backing from, well, the council. And
when was this?
That would be in the 70s. So.
Okay.
So that's quite a jump from when we were kids swimming. But
yes, we'll get back to that. Do you remember when the lake would turn red from the dye from the tannery?
I remember it being in we call them the ponds, sludge ponds, yes.
Oh yeah, the settling ponds. That's
from the tannery.
But that was at the tannery, yes.
And what was it then you asked for? The color?
Yes.
I don't really remember the color.
Yeah, when the wind would come from the north, the currents.
Yeah, the smell.
Okay, the smell and the color of the water at times. Okay.
Or water.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so what was the smell from?
The tannery, I don't know what you call it, fermenting. What they had, the settling ponds, lagoons, and they'd go from one to another and then filter out then eventually dump into the lake. But I know my dad told me, he says, don't you go over and play by those things, because he says, I was over there and there was a dead dog in there. And so he says, I know. So that was enough to make me stay away from going over there. Of course, they'd have fences around there, but you know, kids, you can get any place you want to.
We were talking with one of the men there, and I said, he said, well, we have a big sign there, keep away from the sludge ponds.
Oh, yeah, there's signs.
And I knew it, and I said to the man, these are little kids, they're not going to read the signs. They keep it.
Why do you think other people didn't care about it when, I mean, why is it your parents knew something was wrong?
Yeah. Well, it affected the folks' business. I mean, that was the whole thing. It ruined their business. But almost the rest of the town, that was their livelihood. So that...
a lot of work there.
And, you know, almost everybody, I mean, talked to a lot of people, even my age. Well, yeah, I remember when I did dishes for your folks, or I did this and I did that. Everybody seemed to have a job there in the summertime.
It was gutsy of you guys to do a lawsuit when, I mean, what did people in the town think about that?
I can show you an article.
Were they on your side? Were they split?
Well, we did have a petition out, and almost everybody signed it. Yes, they were for us, but at the same time, they were for the tannery to the fact that this is their livelihood. And so,
wow.
We had friends, but it really didn't interfere with our friendship, I'll put it that way.
That's very cool, but I'm not supposed to comment.
Everybody admitted how bad the smell is.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
People said, no, that the men would come home or open the lunch boxes and it would still smell tannery.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard that from the wives.
What was your emotions during this time of controversy?
Hated the tannery. I always say, and this is just for fun, that you sued the tannery and got a nickel back.
No, we didn't get a nickel.
It didn't even get that. But
They offered $1,000 to get off their back, but the lawyer says no, didn't want that. And then a few weeks later, or whatever time, he says everything's taken care of. They're going to hook up to the city county wastewater. And so he says they paid my bill. And I said, okay, so we didn't even get a nickel.
How do you feel that the whole issue of pollution affected the White Lake area in general?
Well, of course, how should I say that? It was just too bad that they didn't learn from that and went ahead with DuPont and Hooker and stuff. It just seems like, when are we people are going to learn, you know, to stay away from the lake when it comes, or water, when it comes to manufacturing stuff.
So when you learned that DuPont and Hooker were coming, you felt in your heart that this
is no good. No, we didn't like that either. But again, it was jobs for people, and that's the way you look at it, I guess.
What changes did pollution bring about to the community?
To the entire community. Well, they still wanted to enjoy the fishing, and if they could, to the whole community. That's like one of the ladies here, Little Cook, talks to me today about the lake and the tannery and all the things there. They lived above the hill.
Right.
And how they didn't like it, but nobody seemed to do much about it.
But Wint Dahlstrom, you've heard of Wint Dahlstrom, and I mean he didn't partake in the tannery one, but in these other ones he was fighting pollution all the time. He did a very good job at that. So, and I think we were just a little tired.
You mentioned fishing. Did the pollution of the lake affect the fishing industry here?
I don't know what to say about that.
I don't know. I have to admit that living on White Lake all my life, it was nothing but sailing and boating, but fishing, I didn't really get into that. And but the ice fishermen, there was one, old Jolly McCoy, which is one of the local characters. In the wintertime, he'd come in and sell fish to my mother, to the folks, and she'd have a nice talk with him about his way of life, and and he enjoyed it because he kept coming back all the time. Remember?
Who was that?
Old Jolly McCoy.
Oh.
I mean, we maybe shouldn't talk about character, but he was a character. I mean, and he enjoyed bringing fish in the wintertime to the folks. But no, pollution, of course, we're getting off that, I guess. But,
White Lake Villa, I imagine a lot of the business was repeat business, families
Definitely.
coming year after year.
Right.
How did the pollution of the lake affect that part of the business? Did it keep some people away from returning?
It was the pollution, the air, the stench. That was more, because you could smell that, you know. So it was more in their case. Don't you think so?
What was that last thing you said?
As far as the water, quality of the water, people didn't say much about that because they were fishing and boating.
Oh.
But the stench, that's what the big thing was, especially if they'd come from skiing or wherever for dinners, and then step outside and smell that. That was bad. So.
You said you held dances there. Did that room have air conditioning, or were the windows open there?
Just open the windows, yeah.
Okay, so then if the wind was blowing the wrong way and you had a dance.
That's exactly right.
Was there that much odor at that time? I mean, there was originally, as far as I can recall, when they tanned with natural materials, hemlock bark or whatever the bark was that they used in big quantities. That boats used to come in with bark and stuff, and I think the smell came more after they started using chemicals. That's what I was told.
Interesting. Wow.
And I was thinking when it comes out of the tannery, it would come out like a big whoof sometimes.
The lagoons,
the smell.
Looks kind of like the...
Well, anyway, nobody likes a tannery. Oh, except the workers. And as we talked against the tannery, it was never against anything like that because it was just the smell. People worked there and they were probably accustomed to it, but anyway.
If you're in a picture, when Jerry had a boat, we went along the shore, and this was on the shore where they were dumping into the lake. And so I asked Janet the other day, I says, can Jerry dig up a couple of those pictures?
Oh my.
And
okay. All right. How did the changes affect you and your family or your business if you had one?
Well, it really ruined the business. I mean, that part that people couldn't take it.
Did you take any action during the time of pollution, such as writing letters or contacting government officials?
I have a file.
Make a copy of that one.
From 1975.
We have stuff in our house.
We did, but when we moved to the condo, I think between Debbie and Janet, they have most of that stuff. Hid someplace, but that's where I got it, was from Janet.
What kind of stuff? Did you write letters to the city or
I have them. Oh, yes. City council. Mostly, I think, mostly. Our personal letters.
I used to go to the meetings that was between the DNR and the tannery on the pollution. That I can't remember exactly if it was in Grand Rapids or at Kellogg Center, at Kalamazoo and so forth, going. And then all of a sudden their next meeting was in Ironwood, western part of the Upper Peninsula. I think they just didn't want me to come anymore. That's the hint I got. Maybe that might not be it, but that's just the feeling I got.
Were they accommodating when you had these meetings? Did they listen to you? Did you believe that they were going to do anything to better it?
Oh, they were always going to, yeah, but just the DNR, they got along good. I'll put.
Now, didn't you tell me that you invited the head people from Tennessee?
Yes, from Tennessee. Do you remember that? You don't think it's...
I can't remember that one. Right. Huh?
The folks...
Oh, the folks probably did, yeah.
They were from Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Ordered them to come on. Ordered, they wouldn't do it. Well, yes, as guests.
Yeah.
The folks asked them to come and spend some time at White Lake Villa so they could smell the tannery. And that was some time ago. And I don't remember much on the outside of that. They came, but I don't remember.
I don't remember that.
Do you remember if the wind blew so they could smell the tannery from the villa?
I hope so. I don't remember much more than that. But maybe it's in these letters I have, but I don't want you to... Nobody has to bother to look through anything, but we have stuff about city council. But why did we involve council at that time? It was about the pollution, I guess.
Yeah, well, Jeanette and I did more with the council because we weren't getting the backing of the lawsuit and stuff like that. Of course, they were looking out for the local people, and we were just one. So.
Yeah. But you won that lawsuit, correct?
Yes.
But they didn't have to do anything about it.
No, it still was a, so, but like I say, if you want to copy that, it's kind of interesting.
Yes, we definitely would like to copy that. Yes.
And there's, well, I don't know about.
Were there any other people protesting besides your family?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we were almost alone.
We were active in not liking the tannery, but most people were afraid to get in, I think.
Yeah, just
because there were all the young families around.
and sometimes, well, not very often, a couple of people said, "Well, you're trying to put the tannery out of business." I says, "No, that's not. We're not trying to close the tannery. We're trying to just correct that." Well, it took some explaining on that sometimes.
No.
Was the White Lake Improvement Association started because of the pollution? Why was that started?
I think Hooker and DuPont got that going more. Don't you think so? Because
they had.
That was affecting almost everybody a lot more than just us with the tannery.
Okay, Eleanor, I thought you told me last week that your parents started that White Lake Improvement Association.
Yeah, the folks did.
Probably did then.
Okay.
But it didn't get too far. They went around and got signatures and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember any ending of it. So they did what they could.
What did you feel about your local government and community leaders during this time?
It really says so in the article here. Yeah.
Well,
can you paraphrase it for me, or read it if you like that part? Did you trust these companies that were coming
like
to town?
Hooker
Right.
and DuPont?
Yes.
Most people didn't want them, I think. But they did bring money into the situation. All of them, Hooker and DuPont. But then at the same time they were throwing their trash in the lake. They were doing terrible things that I heard of later after we thought it was all settled. And then I heard of things that they were leaking into the lake. So we didn't like them in the beginning.
Did you have a problem deciding who to believe when all this stuff was going on?
No, because we could smell the tannery, but what other stuff would there be that the city council, I don't remember their attitude.
One part it says, at this council time, Wilbur Brightwell upbraided Mrs. Svensson for condemning everybody in the city of Whitehall. And then later on, Harry Pillinger, I don't know, you probably don't, maybe you heard of Harry Pillinger. He was loud. He stood up and said, at this council, and Harry Pillinger stood up and shouted, "I'm with you 100%, Chuck. I have been very much aware of the tremendous smell, and at last week I've been sick and tired of it myself. When the council does absolutely nothing to put pressure on the tannery." And then the mayor says, "Keep your voice down," said Mayor Cogswell. "I'll talk as loud as I want to," Pillinger said.
That was quite the controversy at that meeting.
Right. That's why I thought, well, a copy of that would just...
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
It goes on and on.
What do you think of the health of White Lake today?
Well, for the weeds, I don't know how we could control the weeds. You know, you can see that too. But other than that...
I don't know what's being done.
Because I'm not doing...
Environmentalists. You probably know more about what's going on. I don't know.
What kind of a future do you see for White Lake?
Well, it looks like there's going to be more and more big homes being built. And when we were kids, it was a cottage community. They were all cottages. But we're living in a big place myself, so I can't say anything about that. You have a big home, but that's changed. It was more of a tourist, people coming up for the summer, and just like Bluff Road. Okay, nobody lived down there in the wintertime. That was, matter of fact, my father was caretaker a couple of years. We'd just go down, walk one side, and come back just to check that no shutters had fallen off or blown off. So it's changed that way. We got plenty of marinas, I think. But
how do you feel about the condos that will be going up?
like I say, I really can't comment too much because I live in one. But but it always was a cottage community years ago, and tourist.
Where is there more properties up high up on the hill for more building, or there isn't a lot of space for more building, is there?
Well, the tannery itself, where they've cleared it off, I think that's what you're referring to, is
Yeah.
the condos and so forth. And then Ravenswood, that's
That's gone. I mean, there's nothing there.
no, but their plans on building is going to be compact, I guess. I don't know what other words.
They up high.
Yeah, well, they have an area down below too. Remember?
They what?
They do have an area down by the lake too.
Oh.
Remember we used to drive around? Yeah.
Ravens, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they want to develop that sometime.
They're thinking of that.
Are
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
What do you think the city or individuals can do in the future to help protect White Lake?
Oh, just the same thing. Just don't discard stuff in the lake. I mean, matter of fact, I think if you talk to, well, our Deb too, I wouldn't let them throw a gum wrapper in the lake. No, you don't throw anything in the lake. So I'd like to see everybody go that route.
Why is the lake so low, Chuck?
I don't know, but it's been that way before. In fact, I think it shows it in the book here.
Okay.
I think we had a picture in the book about, in 1964 it was real low, the water.
Oh, what happened then?
The water was very low at White Lake.
Oh.
And, yeah, 64.
Well, you can't do much about that.
Well, but the lake was very polluted then, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
did it make it even appear more so, maybe, because the water was lower?
No, I can't tell. No.
Okay.
Did the lake itself, because of the pollution, did that cause the arc to, because I never understood why that disappeared. It seemed like such a good idea.
I think it was just that it had seen its time. It, should I say, wore out. I mean, it was very, very old, and it probably wasn't worth redoing.
Okay.
But that was quite a. You've heard of it. You've probably seen pictures of it, and it was an exciting place. I mean, he also rented fish shanties around the area too, and you could buy, of course, bait there and fish close by. And there'd be a few ice boats, and well, you could get good hamburgers in there too. They had a wood stove, and no, it was. I have to. I don't know whether you want that on there or not, but just a coincidence. When I was in the Navy, and we were flying up over the Pacific there, and I wasn't a pilot, I was a radioman, but one of the pilots come down and they said, well, you come up and sit in the co-pilot seat and just chit-chat, you know. And so we got talking. Well, he was from Grand Rapids, and well, I was from, I'd say Muskegon first because nobody heard of Whitehall, and go from there. And he says, oh, he says, I go up to the Ark and go fishing. And I thought, oh, here, halfway around the world, you run into somebody that, yes, they like to go fishing in the Ark. Of course, that's nothing to do with pollution, I guess, but just a story.
Like I say, I just always thought that maybe that it stopped because of the, fishing not doing so well in the lake.
I can't say for sure, but I know it was getting pretty old.
Did your parents close the villa because of the pollution?
That was a combination of everything. The pollution, I think, was the main. I think that was the main reason.
I think so too.
Because, well, Jeanette and I had talked about going to the bank and seeing what we could work out with it all, but we were fed up too, I guess, so we didn't do that.
No. Will you talk a little bit about the villa and where exactly it was located and how the Eagles Club is there now? Weren't there originally 3 or 4 buildings up as part of the villa?
Pardon?
How many buildings were part of the villa?
Well, the main one, which is there now, and then there was the other one, which was all like dormitory, bedrooms and bath, and then we had the slide here for a while for entertainment, and I'm sure the insurance was very high on that, the children and all going, but it was fun for a couple of seasons, lots of fun. And then, of course, it would be up to you and me if we wanted to continue.
Yeah.
And I know that my mother's thoughts were, it's a lot of work.
Tell me about the dances.
Oh, I was little when between the swinging doors in the kitchen and the dining room, well, we had a crowd of people. We have pictures of them dancing. They're just shoulder to shoulder. And then we had Jim Kalkowski, which was the greatest of the greatest band leaders, you know. So it was a lot of fun. And I remember when I was little, the swinging doors to the kitchen and the dining room, when we were real little, we could peek in there.
You know, I remember.
And watch them dancing.
Yeah. Because I can remember, of course, a lot younger than you, but I could get in the stage door from outside and crawl behind the piano and watch them dance. Yeah.
It was fun.
Were the dances just for the guests of the villa or open to the public?
No, I remember my father sitting on the porch here collecting the tickets.
And the yacht club had lots of dances there. Now, how come they didn't have them at the club? I don't know, but we had many pictures of the yacht club members coming to the villa.
Oh yeah, that was...
Well, for banquets, I guess they didn't have the cooking facilities there. And so that was their Pirates Ball and things like that were always at the villa.
The dancing was a big come on. I have pictures of the dance floor and people, you know, dancing. It was crowded. They probably charged $2 a couple.
Yeah, but I remember too, they always said that in those days, of course, it's a while back, that was one of the only places that didn't have supports, one big dining room. Almost every other resort around, they have posts and pillars. I mean, there weren't big dance halls, we'll put it that way. So that's one reason why they...
Well, it's been a lot of fun.
Was the dance hall where the Eagles Club is today?
Yes.
That was all the dance floor, where they have their little orchestra there. That was all dance floor, so it was a big dance floor. Beautiful. It was a beautiful floor.
Oh, yeah.
So goes the world today, kiddo.
And you two were also Sesquicentennial Queen and King for the 2010 Sesquicentennial and 4th of July Parade.
That was fun.
That was.
So,
thank you.
Anything else you would like to add?
My mother had written to the city council and different places about the pollution.
Yeah, a lot of it was the problem that my mother liked kids. And she didn't like to have to chase them away from the playground on the villa, and so that was one of maybe the features why they gave the property Svensson Park for the kids, basically. But they were very upset. It took them how many years before they developed it. The folks gave it to them in the 50s, and they took them many years before they even developed it. But
it's beautiful today.
yeah.
I know it. Isn't it nice?
I have to laugh in the book, and well, we got articles too that says, well, the city was so thankful that they gave a property for the lake, and then my mother did go talk with the tannery officials and talk them into adding to it. So the folks didn't give it all. They gave 100 foot, and the tannery gave some too. So there's a good portion right there. But I always got a kick out of it too. The city, on their own, told my father that they were so happy that they gave it to him that we will give you now the property at the foot of Main Street coming down. It's just the width of the road because that's part of your property there, and it's too dangerous for kids to swim. It's just the road, so we will give that to you. And it says in here and a couple places, and I asked them about it one time. They just never got around to do it, and looked in the minutes from the council meetings, and we couldn't find it in the minutes, but we got articles in the paper that says so. So the foot of Main Street isn't yours, Honor. They never deeded it over.
And your home that you both grew up in was built when?
Boy. Boy, I don't know if you want a picture of something like this too. We're getting away from pollution, but turn it off if you don't want to see it. Like the tannery, at one time they said, the court wanted to know who was here first, you know. And the tannery was built in 1861 or something like that.
Well, your house is older than that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's pretty rare, that.
Oh my.
There's an old linen map of
Oh.
Johnson's edition.
Yeah, future.
This is like that.
Here's your house, or one of those.
Oh my goodness.
So-
So that, yeah, we're lot 9.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's this is old.
1868.
Yeah. So I didn't know this isn't to do with pollution, but I thought it's just something old.
It's in good shape, my
Yeah.
goodness.
It's sort of a linen material.
Yeah, it's Charles Street. I didn't know it was on there. Anyway,
A couple of names have been changed on the streets.
There's Charles Street.
That's been closed.
oh,
All that writing, is that just to say, I can't read it, so does that just say where all these different lots are?
State of Michigan, be it remembered that the plat on drawing on the, oh, it's very hard to read.
Right.
Side of the street is a map of Johnson's addition to the village of Whitehall in the county of Muskegon. I think it just describes.
Okay. Very cool, thank you.
Okay.
My goodness. You both did splendidly.
I hope so.
You did a great job.
oh well.